If you are entangled in a past that no longer serves you and you're allowing it to come through your present, the entanglement is going to attach itself to areas of your life, your kids, your spouse. It's just a web that kind of keeps growing. And a lot of times these are past attachments from relationships that you had. They might be experiences, traumatic experiences, decisions that you made, things that you need to release. You might have guilt or shame, or you need to forgive somebody, but all of this stuff is bondage. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you from really being free in your life right now. It steals your future because it's stealing your present. And it just becomes this tangled, nasty web. Some of the things that you experience are like confusion and depression and anxiety and just unsureness, not knowing, like self-doubting your decisions, not knowing which way to go, not knowing, because of maybe how you were raised or what somebody spoke over you. And this becomes it's so devastating where people just feel stuck. They just feel stuck and they just don't know what to do. They don't know what moves to make. They don't know, they don't have the confidence, or the faith or whatever to even make a move. So they just stay. And it becomes like a form of self-sabotage, especially if you've been abused or you've experienced some, a lot of trauma that has rewired your brain and your nervous system. Your body remembers that. Like your nervous system holds on to everything that you went through. Your body has memory. So it holds on to these experiences. And so your nervous system might be wrecked. I know this sounds really heavy and you're like, okay, well, you're telling me all these terrible things. Well, what do I do about it? There's a lot of things you can actually do about it. Number one, don't keep engaging or involving yourself in the same environment or with the same people that continue to put you back in that bondage, that continue to manipulate, that continue to leave your nervous system in knots and you're just like, oh gosh, or to continue to doubt yourself or to continue to talk negatively. You can't keep going back to that just because you feel, well, they're my family, or I'm loyal to them, or it's my mom, or it's my dad, or they mean well. That's such a big thing. Is I heard people say, well, their intentions are good. Well, they mean well, even if it doesn't. The Bible says judge them by their fruits. If they mean well, then their fruits would match up with that type of intention. Because people with wicked intentions or people with their own entanglements bring out more entanglements. Like the results are chaotic. The results are frustration and all of these different things. And so you can't go back to what you're trying to move out of, what you're trying to grow out of. This is why I never understood AA. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, if you're continuing to reaffirm what you don't want and who you don't want to be, I'm an alcoholic, it's like you keep admitting to it. So your subconscious is like, yeah, you are, and you always will be. Well, how do you break free from something when you keep reaffirming it to yourself that you're this way? It's like, no, I'm not. Faith is speaking the opposite. It's moving in the opposite direction, but you have to speak it, which means you have to think it first. So you think, you speak, and then you act, right? So if you're continuing to speak that you're this old person that you're trying not to be, then you're continuing to, it's like you're staying in that cycle. You're continuing on. You can't do the same thing and expect different results. At some point, you have to put up boundaries. You have to. I can't stress this enough. You have to say, enough is enough. I am not going to allow these people or this trauma or this whatever happened in the past that's already done. You can't change it, right? You can't continue to allow that to steal your purpose and to steal your future and to dictate where you're going, because that will move on to your kids. It's like a spirit that attaches itself to you and it will continue to grow. It'll continue to grow and it'll continue to spread. It's like a poverty mindset. Poverty is a mindset first before it's, before it manifests itself physically. And so I'm not saying like, oh, if you think rich, you're going to be rich. What I'm saying is that a lot of times people don't see the opportunities. You know, the Bible says that God gives us the power to get wealth. He doesn't give us the wealth. He gives us the power. That means that you need to see those opportunities. Well, how can you see those opportunities if you're aligned with poverty? If you only see the poverty in things, it's like you only see what you're going to see, and that's the direction that you're going to go in. So it is a mindset. And if you continue that mindset, your kids will have that mindset. You know, your kids could have that mindset. Even if they have the opportunity right in front of them, they may not see it because the poverty mindset is the dominant mindset in them. Oh no, can't happen to me. Nope, I'm always going to be this way. Nope, it's always going to be. So these are destructive thought patterns and destructive behaviors and a destructive mindset that can keep you from like living and enjoying God's best for you, like his blessings for you. And especially with that poverty mindset, a lot of people think, well, I don't deserve it, so I'm not going to get it. And I've heard people talk like that, and they're like, well, that's for someone else, but it's not for me. Well, so you're going to allow somebody who might have really wicked intentions say, well, I'll take it. I'll take that then. Well, God wants his people to really step up and start taking what he has for them. And to do that, you have to change your mind. You can't put new wine in old wineskin. So it starts in your thoughts, then it moves into your words, then it moves into your actions. So one other tip that I can give you, if you are struggling with a certain mentality that's no longer serving you, or bondage of the past that you are really trying to break free from, sometimes you do need to change your environment, because you need to put yourself in a position or a situation that forces you to change or grow. It forces you to become better. You have no other option. You're basically burning the ship of the past, so you're not going back to that vomit, that person, that environment, those people that, you know, are hurting you. And, you know, sometimes, again, people don't intentionally hurt. However, they still do. Right? So they're still coming from their own tangled web. And that's why it's so important for us to get untangled, because it just continues to entangle people. It continues to spread and continues to do that. Another piece of advice, if you are struggling with this or you're dealing with this, is just pull yourself out of the that circle, that cycle, that circle of people. So if it's a group, if it's maybe a group of friends or family member, or, you know, group of family, whatever it is, and it's just full of entanglement, remove yourself. It's like pulling a string to start untangling something. You have to remove yourself. So if you're involved in family gossip, remove yourself from that. Don't answer the phone. Block them. Don't pick up. Don't engage in it. Just don't engage in it. Don't answer. You know, it's like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, you have to put up boundaries, because it's not just about you. It's your spouse. It's your kids. It's what God has for you. Run your race. And so at some point we have to take the accountability and say, you know what, I'm not going to allow this anymore. I'm not going to allow this type of behavior. I'm not going to allow this type of thinking, this mindset to destroy me. You know, I've had to do that with my kids and our family, because I knew if I raise my kids around specific people from my past, my family, then it will rob them of who they need to be. It will stump their growth in certain areas. It will produce fear. They will gain a poverty mindset. They will doubt themselves. They will have a religious mindset, and we'll put them in a bunch of shame. They will struggle. They will, because I would be bringing them into that environment and telling them, well, this is your family, so too bad. These are your grandparents. This is your aunts and uncles. This is so-and-so and so-and-so, whatever. And then they would conform to the culture that they'd be raised in, the people that they'd be around, who they would hear, what people would be talking about day in and day out. They would start taking on that type of behavior. It's like when you're around somebody, you start talking like them, right? You start picking up the little things. This is why it's so important on who you are going to invest your time with. And as you get older, you realize how precious your time is. You start realizing, I don't want to waste it. I don't want to waste any moments of my life on areas that God does not have me in, or God doesn't have for me. Like if you're making somebody, a family member or a friend, an old friend, your assignment just because you don't want to hurt their feelings, and God's trying to remove you from that, there's no grace on that relationship. There's no grace in that situation, and you're going to struggle, and it's going to be difficult. So as you get older, you just start realizing, I want healthy relationships. And for women, it's really hard to find because they're always backstabbers. I mean, it's like they'll always find something wrong and pick you apart. And, it's like, hey, can't you just support? Can't we just sharpen each other? Can't we just help each other? Can't we just come up higher? Can't we just, help one another? But it's really difficult. This is why I walk alone most of the time. I'm not big on big groups, big tribes, big girlfriends and retreats and all this stuff, because I don't want to deal with everybody else's problems. And I don't want people to say, oh, well, you're too bold. You're too this. You bother me with what you said or whatever, because I'm running my race. I'm doing what God told me to do. And most of the time it ruffles feathers because people don't like it. They don't want to hear it, and they'll find something to pick apart or whatever. So where was I going with this? Yeah. Anyway, so you have to put up those boundaries for the sake of your kids, for the sake of your marriage, for the sake of your destiny, for what God has for you. And you can't spend your life trying to please everybody, because you're not going to. You're just going to run yourself into the ground. You're going to exhaust yourself. The other thing is you'll overload yourself on too many commitments. You'll overcommit, trying to be there for everybody, trying to be the peacemaker, trying to keep everybody together, trying to connect this family member with this family member. Oh, this one's mad at this one. Or, you're going to overload yourself trying to do all this work, and people are going to do what they want anyways. They're going to continue on anyways. They're not, when somebody's ready to change, you'll see it. They'll hit a point where they're ready to change. You're not going to change them, coming to the rescue and trying to help them. They have to want it. That person has to want it, because they'll go back into their same habits. People tell me, oh, I should start walking. I should start. Yeah, you should. And then they don't. And then days and months go by. Well, my joints hurt. Yeah, they hurt because you're fat. Your joints hurt because it's putting pressure on it. Your weight's putting pressure on it. That's not mean. That's the truth. People don't want to hear that. Well, I understand. It's difficult to get started on something. It's so much easier to stay comfortable. So much easier to sit in that lazy boy recliner and watch the news and get mad at the world because it's changing how you see people and how you see things. But when you become accountable and you say, no, I am not going to live in this mode, and age really has nothing to do with it. I live amongst people who are in their 70s, who are active. I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of these people are in their 80s and 90s who live around me, and they're active. They take care of themselves. They eat good. They talk to people. They keep their mind sharp. They're walking. They're enjoying life. They're still productive in their mind and in their body, and that helps keep them sharp. They haven't given up on life. So you have to really get to the point where you're like, you know what? I'm going, even though it hurts, even though this change is uncomfortable, even though it's more comfortable for me to do my own, habits, watch TV, sit down, eat a heavy meal, take a nap, gossip on the phone, scroll, that I'm going to do something opposite. I'm going to change those ways, because only you can change it. No one's going to come save you and do it for you. God's not going to do it for you. You need to be the one to do it. If you want different results, you have to do it. And when you get to this point, it's almost like you get to this fierce point where you're just like, ugh, I have had enough. I'm not putting up with this crap anymore. I'm ready. Then it's like, okay, God's like, got your attention. You're ready. Now we can do something. Now we can start getting this. And you'll be surprised at how clear some of these decisions that used to be fuzzy, some of these decisions that you used to be like unsure of, they'll start being crystal clear. And the guilt that you feel for making them will go away. I felt guilt in the beginning of, well, if I don't let my kids around certain people, they're going to not grow up with grandparents. And then I realized I'm not going to feel guilty over that, because I know that God has a different plan for their life. And if I use that and allow that, to take control and to really be the, the decision factor, then it's going to disrupt where they're going. It's going to mess it up because all of those same habits and same family problems and drama and chaos and all these things are going to be put on them. And then I'm going to have to undo what I had to undo. And it's a lot harder to undo things, especially in your adult life, when you dealt with trauma and you dealt with crazy family and a bad upbringing or whatever. So much harder to undo it when you're an adult. You got to go, you go through therapy. You're basically trying to rewire decades of how you were taught, because you were taught a certain way. So your mind automatically thinks this is the right way. It's normal to yell at each other all the time and to fight and to hate each other and be arguing. It's normal. No, it's not normal. That is not a normal family. But when you grow up with that, you continue that and it becomes normal, and then you do that to your kids. That's really what abuse is and trauma is it just continues on through generations. So you have to be the one to stop it. You have to be. And anytime you're the person who's stopping that, and anytime you're the person who's on the front lines and you're saying, no, not anymore, I'm not allowing this, you're going to get resistance. You will get resistance. You'll get people that won't agree with you. You will get all kinds of stuff because you are on the front lines, right? So you're getting it. People will tell you all kinds of things all the time. It's just the way that it is. But if you know you're doing this, so your kids and so your family and for their future and for your own future and what God has for you, you're doing this for a bigger purpose. You will be blessed because God will bless you when you leave your family, your extended family, for his name's sake, to do what he's called you to do. You will be blessed for it. It'll be tough. You will have to walk alone sometimes. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to want to go back to those old habits. But over time, it's going to make you stronger. You're going to be more courageous. You're going to be more bold. You'll piss more people off than you ever thought. Because as soon as I started, I've always been a little bold and outspoken. I can piss people off all the time. I had a lady writing me on YouTube. She was mad because I was wearing a sports bra outside in the middle of the day. Okay, well, too bad. You will make people mad no matter what, because that's what happens. Good. Let them. It's that Mel Robbins saying, let them be mad. Let them. Continue on. You continue on, you continue, let them continue on. You're not responsible for everybody. You're not going to change everybody anyways. You have to get clear and focused on what God has for you and your family, and really unapologetically run your race and get things in order. And going back to being overcommitted, when you overcommit to things just for the sake of, well, I have to show up to this person, I got to show up for this, I got to do this, I got to do that. Don't get mad when you're burnt out. Don't blame and get like, oh, well, don't turn into a victim because you're allowing it. I did this for a long time, and then I realized I'm the one allowing it. I got to give myself space to breathe. I need space in between these to-dos and obligations. And one of the biggest ones was picking up the phone when people would call, and I knew they were just calling to complain. And then you start feeling bad, I didn't pick up the phone. So, I got to the point where I'm like, I need space in my mind. I can't just consume all of your problems, especially when it's a continuing thing and you're not doing anything about it. So again, you have to be the one to stop, not them. They're not going to change, right? But you can change. You can change yourself. You can change how you respond, how you react, and not responding or reacting is really the best. Just being quiet. And that's what I started choosing to do. When battles and things would throw darts and people gossiping or this or that or problems, I just, I didn't even, there was even no, it was just totally quiet, because I didn't respond. I just deleted and moved on. And if it was a continuing thing where they would try to text, I would just block. Because then I don't even see it. And then whatever, maybe you're texting, I don't know, because I blocked it. Keep your peace, because you have a race to run. And moms, you're responsible for your household. These people aren't in my household, so they are not my responsibility, especially if they're 20 years older than me or whatever. I'm not responsible for you and your problems. You are responsible to take care of your load. Throw scripture at you and say, well, God says to carry each other's burdens. So, well, yeah, a burden is a hardship. It's something that somebody has gone through that you are walking alongside them with. You know, a financial thing, a divorce, a death, you know, they're going through an illness, a recovery, something. A load is the person's decisions and habits that they make day in and day out, day in and day out, every single day. It's their habits. They're responsible for that, because we're all responsible for the results of our decisions. There's always consequence. And if you're coming in to save that person and thinking, I'm helping them, you're not. All you're doing is allowing them not to feel the repercussions of their choice, meaning that they don't fully grasp what they're actually doing. They don't fully grasp what they're putting on you. They don't fully get it. They don't get it because they're not dealing with the repercussions. For example, maybe somebody always comes to you for money. They always need money. They're always broke. They're always having financial problems, and you step in. They're not feeling the weight or the results or the consequences of their mismanagement, because you're coming in to save the day. So they can't really fully understand it. And then if they do, they turn into a victim. Well, you know, this happened. No, it happened because you allowed it to happen. So this is why it's so important to know, stay in your lane and know what God has for you, and not feel like you have to step in and help and save everybody all the time. Spread yourself so thin and, you know, overcommit yourself and have all these obligations. I felt so obligated all the time. I had to go to church. Oh, you have to go to church. After Sunday again, we got to show up. It became an obligation. And I'm just being super real with you. It became such an obligation that if we missed one day, people would be like, well, how come you weren't in church? Having a problem? Going through something? Why weren't you there? I wasn't there because I slept in. I was tired. You know, I wasn't there because I went out for breakfast instead. Like, who cares? The point is that it became a religious duty, and it became an obligation, and then that obligation became stress, and that stress became problems in my family, and then it just became this big thing, and people were so bothered by it. Like, they were more bothered by it. I'm like, you know what? If my relationship with Jesus is mine, just like yours is yours, that means if I plug in here or there, or if I don't plug in, or if I'm, you know, listening to sermons, it's about your intimate walk with him daily. It's about your walk with him daily. It's about a relationship. It's a personal relationship. And sometimes churches become the relationship. They become the business. It's basically what it is. The pastor becomes the God, you know. And people are like, well, that guy can never do no wrong. Well, clearly, yeah, you know, anyways, I'm going in a different direction, but you get what I'm saying. Jesus came to liberate our hearts, not put us in a religious box, a religious bondage. This is why it's so important for us to untangle ourselves. Untangle yourself from the bondage of the past by, number one, stop going back to it so you can heal. You can't heal if you continue to keep going back to the very same things that are traumatizing you. And number two, start doing things the opposite. Yes, it takes time to heal. Yes, it takes time to move on. You probably will need prayer. We all do. You will need to make some changes, but you can do it, and you can change the lineage of your family if it's destructive, if it's a poverty mindset, if it's abuse, if it's, you know, an argumentative spirit where everybody's yelling at each other, if it's a spirit of gossip, if it's, you know, just bad financial decisions, if it's a victim mentality, all of these things you don't have to carry. You don't have to bring into your future. You don't have to put on your kids. You don't have to do any of it. You can choose right here and right now that you're going to do the opposite. That you're going to follow what God has for you. You're going to plug in. Means you're not plug in. I was using that term again when the church says, let's get you plugged in. What I mean is, like, you're going to go all in, right? You're ready. And you're going to let go of your old ways. You're going to submit, right, to his authority so he can lead you and guide you and take you to where you got to go. And you're going to walk one foot in front of the other, day in and day out, until you can walk quicker, until you can run, until you build up that momentum. And it's just a day at a time, day in, day out. You're just gonna keep going. And when the naysayers come, no thanks, I don't want that. When people come and throw stuff at you, no thanks, you can keep that. I don't want that. That's not for me. You know, when gossip starts coming around, no thanks, I don't want that. When people start complaining, no thanks, I got my eyes fixed on the goodness of God, and I'm going to walk in gratitude and favor. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to keep your eyes, and when all that stuff starts coming your way and pulling you back and reminding you of who you used to be and who you are trying to grow from, no, I'm not that person anymore. And don't keep reaffirming what you don't want. Don't keep reaffirming that you're this person. You may have done terrible things in your past. Don't keep reaffirming that. Start speaking and moving in the direction, in that new direction, so God can build you back up and prune you and get rid of all of those things that aren't serving you. And it'll be beautiful. A beautiful life, beautiful future. A lot you can have. In 90 days your life could be totally different. It could be just beautiful. Don't waste one more time in the bondage of the past.